Yes.
You are now live.
Are we live? We are now live. So we're looking for,
Hi, Jennifer.
we are looking for Laurent to join us. Doing all this intense technical stuff. I'm not, my goodness! The man, hey Laurent,
How are you?
how are you doing?
Fine.
You look unbelievably relaxed and tanned. What is going on?
I'm fine. We just, we are now not anymore really in the lockdown is finished in Paris.
I know you've been released.
We are
I can
all.
see you're back in the studio because you were in the
Yes.
country, right?
Yeah. I'm still going to the countryside. I will go there like tomorrow, I think.
And where are you in Normandy or where were you?
Yeah, we actually we spent the lockdown like we spent like almost 3 months in Normandy
Right.
with the parents of my wife Virginie.
Uh-huh.
So we stay in their house.
Is everybody still talking?
Yeah, everything okay.
Good.
And we just start to rent this house like 3 weeks ago. So we started to enjoy being in the countryside, and it was better to stay there a bit because here you can still feel a kind of tension. Nothing is really like before. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be in the studio, to be here a few days to work with the team, and also to finally keep to have this concentration I can have when I'm like away in a way.
It's interesting in the last week or so, everybody that I've been talking to, you're getting slight feedback on your volume. So I think you might want to turn it down a little bit. Try turning your volume down a touch. You'll get less feedback.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. You're going to get less feedback from me. But it's funny, that's much better. In the last week or so, a lot of people I've been talking to are starting to say that they're enjoying this moment. And everybody's talking about how worried they're getting about this becoming the new normal and enjoying being isolated. Are you feeling like that?
No, I think that there is a difference between the fact to and the ability to try to find something positive in this situation, especially when you are not personally touched, affected. And I think it's a good point to try to find our own way to work and to be efficient. But at the end, of course, it helped to change the way we live, the way we communicate. I mean, it's a kind of big experience. We experimented a lot of new way to behave, to do a lot of things. But of course, I don't think it's a positive situation.
Yeah, no, it still feels incredibly artificial, but at the same time, the idea that we could be getting used to it is equally worrying. How has
Yes.
it been for you? I mean, you don't have a traditional studio practice, but you do have a studio and you do have a group of people that work with you in the studio. So
Yeah.
how has that moment been for you?
I think that my practice, my studio practice, is a kind of collaborative way to work with the team, we are here daily, and we do a lot of research. We do a lot of prototype, and we try to organize new kind of practice, and it's something really important for me. But it was still possible to work to remote working, to be still in touch with the team during the lockdown. So at the end, it didn't affect so much our daily practice. Even if we were not able to meet and to see each other.
Yeah, because a lot of artists have talked about, you know, in a way that being, you know, their practice is the perfect sort of profession for isolation, because being isolated in the studio is sort of natural, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas for you, because it is very collaborative and you do work very closely with people, you know, it must have been quite strange. So you've figured out how to make it work, but have you equally, has it changed the work? Has it changed what you're thinking about in terms of the work at all?
First, the way we work, I mean, we were about to prepare a shooting in Svalbard. Just we were like we were booking the hotel and doing the preparation for 15 days in the Great North, just before the lockdown. So of course it was really frustrating because everything was cancelled. We were not able to move anymore, and we knew from the beginning that it was not just for a few weeks. We basically understood that the shooting will be completely cancelled. So we had to find a way to do this project. The idea of the project was a movie about all the metamorphoses and all the mutation in the world of today. It's a project, it's a movie project for the Musée d'Orsay in Paris for next November. So during the preparation of this project, we used a lot the databases, the video databases, to do our scouting, our virtual scouting, and to find some interesting places. And we also understood that I was interested by so many places that I knew from the beginning it was not possible to go everywhere. So when we knew that the shooting was cancelled, we decided to do a virtual shooting, basically, and to use this material to do the final project. So basically the lockdown changed the way to make the movie we are making, because we use this online and this found video to do the final movie.
How did you do that? I mean, how did you do a virtual shooting and use?
So what I mean by virtual shooting is like just we use like databases like Getty, or we have access to people, you know, like today you can find a drone movie about any places in the world. Basically, people are making moving picture and they sell it.
So you're using the equivalent of stock photography?
Exactly, but with a moving picture.
Wow, I didn't know you could even do that.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because actually instead to limit the project, it expanded the project because we have access to a lot of material. The idea of the movie is to question the idea of exploration today, because I'm supposed to react to a very big exhibition in the Orsay Museum about the evolution theory and Darwin. They are doing a big show about this subject.
Right.
So for me, it was interesting to question the notion of exploration. What does mean exploration today? What can we still explore? Because as I was saying before, people are covering the entire world and filming the entire world today. There is nothing left to discover in a way. So, but still, it's a very interesting question. One of the first ideas was to use a new kind of cameras, as I did for my movie Auto that we have shown together. And so we found a very interesting tool. The name is LiDAR. It's a kind of scanner of the landscape, basically. It's a kind of machine, and it gives you the ability to do a 3D scanner of a landscape or any places, a room or somebody, or so we also have access to people. They went to a few places with this machine, and they have some very interesting picture, and we are buying this picture. It's a kind of virtual world we can have access and we can borrow.
Is it something like the scanners that they use when they Google Map?
No, it's like the step after. It's like just recently through this practice, scientists were able to discover a Maya city. Or basically, it's like very often these new cameras or this new machine are made for scientific purpose. Right. So you can like scan the ocean. You can like, and when you see the picture, it's a picture in 3D where you can navigate. So you can ask to a virtual camera to move. And you can decide of the motion of the camera. It's really interesting, and you can cross the object.
So, I mean, in theory, would you ever have to leave your studio again, or you can just construct work in virtual space using other people's footage?
No, it's interesting. Of course, I'm not a huge fan of the virtualization of the world, and it's also something we try to question with this project. We saw a lot of proposition to see virtual exhibition, online art fairs, and a lot of...
This camera has a life of its own today.
But I don't think it's really our future. I hope it's not our future. Of course, I still enjoy the direct relationship with an artwork, with my team, and also the ability to travel. But as an artist, we need to find solution. We need to work. We need to invent new method. So,
I mean, for instance, the last big project that we showed, which is actually on the screen behind you, shown at the moment, was shot in Australia in response to the Sydney Biennial. I mean, you talk about travel. I mean, what happens if we can't travel for a considerable period of time, or if that's not such an easy option for us in the future? For somebody like yourself, whose work is very much about exploration and working with a lot of scientific ideas around the world.
For now, it's not problematic because of the solution we found with for this new project. I don't feel like stuck too much, and I think it's interesting. Of course, we don't know if, like, in the fall we will be in another quarantine or lockdown in France. You know, like you are still like nothing is finished actually. And the situation is a bit strange in France because in the meantime we hear about the States, we hear about other countries where the situation is really intense, and here you have this strange feeling of a kind of almost virtual situation, because actually we are still concerned. You know, you cannot behave like everything is normal, as you know that your friends are still in trouble. So I think that in a way, when you have this, as an artist, you remember we did also this project, seismography of the soul, together for TEFAF. And the meaning of this project for me was that the artist is a kind of seismograph, and he can express and transmit the vibration of the world around us. And as an artist, you are, I think we and not just artists, but I'm just able to speak about myself, but we are really sensitive about any kind of situation around us, basically. So even if I was able to go to Australia, I was also really concerned by the situation there with the community I work with, so it's not because we are able to travel that we can fix the situations that we experience when we travel. I'm not sure if it's answer really, but
yeah, no, I know. I mean, you know, if you're saying in a way that artists are very tuned in, and you know you're interested in this notion of seismography of the soul and being able to sort of pick up those vibrations and respond to them, then one would have to conclude that there's going to be some very strange work coming out of this moment, because it's a pretty bleak moment in many respects. And I would imagine the signals that people are picking up are not too optimistic. So how do you think that'll affect, do you think we'll see a very large body of work that deals with this pandemic and in the future?
if you see carefully, I mean, and I'm sure you know what I mean, it starts before, like, I think that artists start to talk about disaster, about the big mutation of our world since a few years, like the scientists did. So I think that the ability of the artist and or also function is to express and to try to imagine the future. And as we were trying to imagine the future, I did a lot of exhibition and a lot of videos with imaginary disaster, as you know.
Yeah.
So again, it's not we knew that we will experience a pandemic like that, but we had some, you know, bad intuition about our future.
Yeah, I mean, you have worked with natural disasters and disasters in the work historically quite a lot. I mean,
Yes.
do you? I hate to sort of introduce the theory that you know this could be a sort of a notion of foresight, but do you feel like this moment is some sort of warning globally to us with the ecological implications, with the pandemic, with what's happening socially and economically? I mean, do you see it as part of a bigger malaise?
I'm not sure, because in a way it's a very serious situation, but because of the intensity of the communication and the way we are connected to the global media, everything is like in real time now. So we had this ability to be informed and to stop and to slow down the speed of the world. So I mean, the world experienced situation like that before, in the 60s or during the Spanish flu. So I'm not sure that it's like a sign, but still. we have to, and actually I'm not sure the world will change really after this crisis.
But that's the worrying part is, you know, I've been talking to a lot of people about looking at the future and what we might return to. And one of the most worrying aspects is that we return and everybody wants it to be the way it was. And that we
Exactly.
haven't learned anything, it hasn't changed at all.
No, yeah, I think so. So that's the issue. And as an artist, you can like we are making artworks. We try to ask questions, not to give answer, and to express the instability of the world. But it's quite also difficult to. I mean, first, one thing is sure, like here, people understood that they were able to change things, to change the way they live, the daily life we were able to, like, I think that we were all living in a very intense life. We travel a lot and we travel like too much.
Yeah.
Especially you as a gallerist, I think it's really intense. So of course, it was not something pleasant in a way at the end, because it was a bit too intense. We are in this big intensity. So
it was very intense. It is very intense. I mean, the thing is, you know, honestly, if you'd said 4 months ago to any of us, I guess, you're going to have to run your business or your life remotely, we would all have said that's impossible. It can't ever occur. It can't happen.
Yes.
But somehow, you know, most of us have been able to figure out a way of doing that. And, you know, I think we're far enough into it now that we're starting to feel that the adjustment has some sort of normalcy. And I think that's what people are getting scared by at the moment, the idea that this is the new normal.
Yeah, I mean, the question is like, do my team want to come back at the studio?
Exactly. Have you
and
asked
to
them?
see me again daily. That's the reason I'm staying in Normandy and I keep them quiet. And but yeah, of course, it's
You should
a
do
real
a survey.
Yeah. No, I think that for me it was also the experience of the concentration, and I don't like to feel too much disturbed. I like this idea of meditation, the idea of the space to focus myself and not to be disturbed. So for this aspect, it was interesting. But in the meantime, we were like really stressed, especially at the beginning, because it was we were like facing the unknown, and we are still, because we don't know too much about this virus, and this is also something strange and new for us, because we normally believe that we can explain everything, that we can study everything, that we can control everything.
Rational.
Yes, and now we have lost this ability. So it's we can feel insecure.
It's normal. I mean, it's absolutely normal. I mean, we've been sort of completely taken out of our comfortable space, and
Exactly.
It's been, you know, I mean, it's a violation in a way. It's a kind of trauma.
Yeah,
I think everybody's feeling.
And when you see like the number of science fiction movies describing this kind of situation.
Now we're on to science fiction movies.
And no, it's interesting. Like the reality is always more impressive than the science fiction or the fiction. Simply, I'm a huge fan of the. In my work, as you know, I like to find interesting situation, interesting theory, but I've always considered that the reality was stronger and more interesting than the science fiction or the fiction. And now it's clear.
How are you feeling about that now?
Yeah, it's kind of impressive.
So when, I mean, it seems like this may be almost returning to normal where you are. It's certainly not the same here. And indeed, you know, because of the lack of government leadership in this country, the state initiatives, a lot of the Republican states who rushed to reopen at the behest of our supreme leader are now experiencing, you know, real spikes in illness rates. But it seems like France is much more stable and Germany is much more stable. When you can get out and get back to your life, whatever it looks like in the future, what's the first thing you want to do?
I wish I could like travel to Italy, for example.
Well, you can get in a car and drive. You don't even have to get in a plane.
Of course. But, you know, as I said before, I think that it's not just about ourselves, you know. What we want now is that what we hope is that this situation will end very soon, but for everybody. So yeah, of course we can travel, but it's not the same feeling. It's like I just went to a restaurant before. Everything is open now in Paris, but it doesn't have the same taste, you know.
So you can go to a restaurant, you can eat indoors, you can go to a bar?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That's almost inconceivable for us at the moment. Can't even imagine it. So have you been going out to, because I mean, like, everybody's been cooking like crazy and staying home and...
Yes, yeah.
What was the first restaurant you visited?
I think... yeah, we have like a small restaurant we used to go near the studio. It's a Vietnamese restaurant, and we go there like daily almost. So I went there. Okay. And but you know, still when you go to restaurant, like the waiters, they dress mask. It's different. It's still, there is still a tension. There is still a risk. So. In a way, the situation in France, it's not an example. It's not like the way, it's not like something clear, because actually it's too early to know if it was right to start the end of the lockdown. So we are in this situation like where we don't know.
And whilst you've been in this state of lockdown, it sounds like you've been doing a lot of. We're all doing, you know, insane amounts of meetings on Zoom and Google, which in its own right is quite exhausting. At the end of the day, you feel like you can pour your brain out into a teacup. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of research on the internet as well. Have you been spending a lot of time on the computer researching?
Yeah, I mean. It was an interesting time also, where you decide with whom you want to speak. So for me, I spend a lot of time to talk about my project with some friend, with some contact, with my team. So it was quite intense actually. We had a lot of work with this. Project for Musée d'Orsay, and all the other, we have like a few public commission going on. So we had actually a lot of project to.
And Laurent, what has happened with the Musée d'Orsay project? Has that been? Is it still happening, or has it been postponed?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, except we experienced something in the fall. The Musée d'Orsay just opened again a few days ago, and normally we will have the project will start in in November, but I think they won't do an opening. That's also
Right.
something. The interesting also the interesting thing is that we discover how important is human interaction in our field, you know, and that's really problematic. We need to physically experience the artwork, but also we need to meet the people we work with, the people interested by art, the curators, the art critics. So I think that the art world was especially affected by this situation, because even if we can work at home and everything, the big part is missing.
Although I have spoken to some people in Europe where institutions have reopened and they're having to, you know, ticketed, timed entry. And a number of those people were saying what a very pleasant experience it is to be in a museum when they're only allowing 30 people an hour or 30 people at the same time into the institution. And you're not sort of in a shuffling line in front of the
Exactly.
object, and you can spend time with it. So,
yeah. You mean
know, there are slight
VIP
silver linings to
opening.
all this. But, you know, nothing compares to being in front of the object, the aura of the object. So.
Yeah, I think that it's really part of our
need.
Yeah, but also like to see physically the artwork is, and to see to be in a big installation or to.
Yeah.
Yesterday I visited a very interesting museum where I'm supposed to do the Nuit Blanche in Paris next fall. Musée Zatkin. Zatkin was a sculptor.
Sure.
Working, it's like 10 minutes from the studio. So yeah, it was very interesting because we decided to go there by night to see what will be the lightning and the level of light during the night, and this possibility to go to the museum, to be a few of us, and to visit the place. And we had a drink in the garden. It was amazing. So of course,
Sounds very civilized.
Yeah.
So Laurent, we've talked about, you know, we've actually talked about a lot of very serious stuff today. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of quick fire questions to lighten up the mood. Firstly, I'm very impressed. It does actually look as if you're drinking tea. For a Frenchman, did you come armed with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea?
No, I have something else, but not alcohol.
Oh yes, lately. What are you drinking? What have you got in that mug?
I had a glass of wine just before.
Oh, good. Excellent.
And now
I'm glad to hear
like...
it. Yeah, I'd forgotten you're on a different time zone. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so what would be, if you were stuck on a desert island, what would be the last glass of wine that you would request? What would your request be?
Sorry, again?
What would be your choice of a last glass of wine on a desert island?
The kind of wine you mean?
Yeah, you get one glass of wine. What would you choose?
You're an expert. You know better than me.
I know, but I'm asking the questions. You've got to answer them. Right, without looking down, what color socks are you wearing?
Oh, socks?
Yeah.
Like, you want me to...
You can't look down. You've got to remember what color they are.
Pink.
Okay, good. What would be the last meal that you would request on your desert island? Your favorite meal?
Yeah, I like Italian food and I like Japanese food. So could be one of the...
A combination of the two?
Yeah.
What are you reading at the moment?
Nothing.
You're not reading anything?
Not now.
either on a screen or in a book?
No, I have some, like now I'm not, I mean, I'm interested by a few books for the Orsay project. I'm really interested by Descola. He's a very famous French anthropologist, and he's investing this idea that nature and culture are not the separation between nature and culture doesn't exist anymore. So I'm doing like research, but for me it's really rare to find a book like not theoretical, like a novel or something like that,
Right.
that I can read to until the end.
So what music are you listening to at the moment?
So again, um, I work with a very interesting composer. I start to work with him for the next project. His name is Warren Ellis, and he's collaborating with Nick Cave. So to prepare the project, I've been listening a lot of all all his work recently.
Is American or English or?
He's living in Paris, and he's Australian.
Oh, he's Australian. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Did you meet him when you were working on the last project?
I tried to work with him before, and I took my chance during the lockdown.
Ah, well, he had time to pay attention and respond. Okay, if you were not an artist, what would you be? I'm sure I know the answer to this one.
Really? What?
Yeah.
What's the answer?
Architect.
Really?
Yeah. I think you're a frustrated architect like me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I know your brother's an architect, so maybe.
Yeah,
you
he's an
wouldn't choose
architect,
that.
and we collaborated a lot together.
Yeah.
And I'm still, it's funny because half of my team, they are architects. I'm working with 3 architects at the studio.
It's actually interesting how many of our artists were trained as architects. It's a very high percentage.
But a lot of architects try to be artists as well.
I'm not touching that one. Do you like to cook?
Yes, a lot. We spend a lot of time.
Have you been cooking during this time?
Yeah, we try, like we experience new things. Like we did maki with my son Marcel.
Wow.
And also like
maybe I should address this question to Virginie, but are you a good cook?
I like to cook, and I think that's
it's 2 different things.
Yeah, but some people don't like to cook. But no, I think I can. I mean, next time you come to Paris, I will cook for you.
Yeah, you have to cook for me.
Because usually we go to restaurant, because
I know
we have so many restaurants here that it's
and so many good ones. That I do miss.
Yeah.
Coming to Paris to a good restaurant, very ordinary, very good restaurant.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's really, and even I think even more in Italy.
Yeah.
But strangely, during the lockdown, one city I really remember was Venice. Because actually, even without the biennial, I like to go there. I think it's really an interesting city.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've spent a lot of time there, and it's a wonderful and magical city.
Yeah.
Also has very good restaurants. Anyway, we're out of time. I want to thank you. I'd forgotten that I would be asking you to have tea time at dinner time, but
exactly.
It was very nice to see you, and thanks for talking so much about what you've been up to in the studio. That was really interesting. And my love to Virginie and Marcel and you, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. And thanks for joining us and sharing, being so responsive and sharing so much information. We'll look forward to the forthcoming project at the Musée d'Orsay. Hope it's on time.
Thank you very much, Sean, and hello to the Sean Kelly team, the family.
Thank you.
And see you soon.
We're all intact, thankfully.
Take care.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.